No, I didn't lose this album. I didn't scratch it. I didn't lend it to someone who never gave it back. I simply loved it so much, I wore it out. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Dave's Side One. I'm Dave, your host, who still believes the best records aren't always the ones in perfect condition. They're the ones that became part of your life. Over here at Art of Listening Records, where every record has a story, and every story starts on side one. Today we're talking about the very first record I ever wore out. Not scratched, not broken, not lost, but worn out. The album was Crystal Ball by Styx. Collectors usually tell stories about finding a rare pressing, finding a bargain, replacing something they regret selling. I've done this throughout this podcast. This story is a little different. Crystal Ball never disappeared. It stayed right where it belonged on my turntable, again and again and again and again. Crystal Ball wasn't just another Styx album. It introduced Tommy Shaw. Looking back today, it's almost impossible to imagine Styx without him. But in 1976, nobody knew how much he would change the band's future. The title track immediately grabbed me. Mademoiselle had incredible energy, but what kept bringing me back were all the things I didn't hear the first time, or the second, or the 10th. The harmonies became richer, the guitar arrangements became smarter. Dennis DeYoung's keyboards revealed little details I'd completely missed. Every spin rewarded another spin. So as we do, let's explore this just a little further with a walk down Dave's memory lane. Now, back then, records weren't investments for me. They weren't collectibles. They were companions. If I couldn't decide what to play, I'd put on Crystal Ball. Saturday afternoon, Crystal Ball. Home by myself, Crystal Ball. Friends coming over, Crystal Ball. I wasn't trying to wear it out. I was simply enjoying it. Eventually, I noticed something. The opening track didn't sound quite as good. There were a few more pops, a little more crackle. The grooves had changed. Not because I'd abused the record, but because I'd loved it enough to play it literally hundreds of times. That realization actually made me smile. It meant this album had been part of my everyday life. And honestly, what greater compliment can you give a record than that? Nearly 50 years later, Crystal Ball still feels like the moment Styx expanded. Tommy Shaw didn't replace anyone. He added another voice, another songwriter, another personality. The band became bigger than it already was. That's why this album keeps pulling me back. Not because it's nostalgic, because it's still genuinely excellent. Today, many collectors spend thousands of dollars chasing perfect copies, and I understand that. I love clean vinyl too, but every now and then, I pull out an old record that's been loved. A few clicks, a little groove wear, maybe even ring on the jacket. Instead of seeing damage, I see history. Every little imperfection reminds me that this record wasn't sitting on a shelf. It was living life with me. Crystal Ball taught me that. It became the first record I ever wore out, and I wouldn't change that story for anything. So on tonight's Side One Spin, I want you to tell me what was the first album you ever played so much that it practically wore itself out. Come back and tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. Well, that's it for today's Side One. Thanks again for spending a little time with me, and please keep that needle in the groove. We will talk to you tomorrow when I tell you about an album that has grown with me for 50 years. Talk to you then.